11 items draining your wealth. Avoid these to save money. Every action you take every day will determine whether you'll be rich or poor in the future, sometimes voluntarily and sometimes involuntarily. Consider this. Millionaires don't always live the lifestyle you might imagine. Instead, they are frugal and inclined to spend only what they can afford. They continuously look for ways to grow their money rather than spend it. Whether you're a millionaire or not, some purchases don't make sense for anyone who knows how to manage money. So, in this video, we'll share with you 11 reasons why you're still broke or poor. 1. A new car. True wealth doesn't seek attention. Attention seekers are usually misinformed athletes or TV personalities who just received their first big paycheck and chose to spend it all because they believe the money will keep coming. Thousands of new cars are sold every year, but few buyers can afford to pay for them in cash. However, not being able to pay cash for a new car can also mean you can't afford the car. After all, being able to make the payment doesn't mean you can afford the car. Moreover, by getting a loan to buy a car, the consumer pays interest on a depreciating asset, exacerbating the gap between the car's value and the amount paid. Worse still, many people change their cars every 2 or 3 years, resulting in a loss of money. Someone might be forced to take out a loan to buy a car, but how many buyers need a large SUV? Buying, insuring, and fueling such vehicles is expensive. Unless you're towing a boat or trailer or need an SUV for your lifestyle, buying one can be costly. Consider buying a car that consumes less gas and costs less to insure and maintain if you need to buy one and/or take out a loan for it. Cars are expensive, and if you buy more than you need, you might waste money that you could have saved or used to pay off debt. Don't get us wrong. We love the thrill of driving a Lambo or Ferrari every once in a while, but according to our experience, rich people drive luxury cars that prioritize comfort and safety. A multimillionaire is more likely to be seen driving a Tesla or a Volvo than a McLaren, even if the doors open in that fancy way. 2. Leasing new cars. You're probably still in the dark when it comes to leasing. Someone good with money will almost certainly walk away. They won't tell themselves, "Oh, let me lease this $50,000 car, and then let me lease another one next year." Although the monthly payment and initial fees are lower with a lease, you'll never own the property as you would with a loan. While leasing might seem like a quick solution to avoid debt, financially savvy people see it differently. Buying and maintaining your own cars for long periods makes more financial sense if you're motivated by the lower long-term cost. Those who are good with money are less likely to be obsessed with having the latest and greatest, so leasing isn't the ideal option for them. 3. Formal education. Hear me out before you cut off my head. Middle-class individuals believe their wealth is determined by their investment in formal education. If good grades were the key to accumulating wealth, every summa cum laude graduate would be a multimillionaire. According to the massively rich, financial success has little to do with your ability to memorize textbook content. Instead, they believe that learning certain skills like investing or networking with influential people will have a greater impact on their net worth. In truth, some of the world's richest people don't have a formal education. According to Forbes, Dell Technologies CEO Michael Dell, whose net worth is estimated at $32 billion, dropped out of the University of Texas at Austin when he was 19. Dropping out of Reed College was one of the best moves Apple co-founder Steve Jobs ever made. Change your mindset. A college degree doesn't guarantee success or wealth. If you like selling, for example, enroll in an online course to improve your sales skills. Bill Gates attributes much of his success to reading 50 books a year. Ask a financial expert to show you how to invest in stocks. 4. A single income source. Having a single income source is a way of life for most people, and this income is usually in the form of a paycheck. Unfortunately, jobs aren't as secure as most people believe. In fact, over 21 million workers were laid off by U.S. companies in 2018, and it has probably increased after the recent pandemic, which means that if your job was your main source of income, your cash flow stopped. Think of yourself as a tree when it comes to earning potential. Do trees have only one branch that bears fruit? The answer is simple: no. Flowers and fruits are produced by different branches. You should do the same. You should continue to develop and learn new ways to make your money work for you. This is not only a prudent technique but also a safe one to help you sleep at night. Trust our word. The answers to each of these unhealthy behaviors, of course, vary from person to person. Someone might need to replace the mood-enhancing elements of shopping with exercise, while another might need to cut up their reward card to avoid temptation. However, like any bad habit, the first step is admitting that a change in behavior is necessary. If you're constantly putting your financial security at risk, it's time to take a step back and assess your situation. Knowing that you're jeopardizing your chances of freedom might be the motivation you need to finally get out of debt. 5. Interest-free loans. Stores that offer interest-free loans, like credit cards that offer points and rewards, are simply attracting potential borrowers and convincing them to spend more than they can afford. The terrible part is that many people who take advantage of such deals don't pay off the loans before the interest-free period expires, and are then hit with fines and even retroactive interest from the so-called interest-free period. Always read the fine print and keep in mind that interest-free loans are not interest-free unless you're sure you can pay them off before the grace period ends. 6. Lifestyle inflation. You probably expect to have a better financial situation as you get older compared to when you were a young adult. Your earning capacity can be influenced by a better job, a raise, or even natural economic inflation. The difference between individuals who are successful in growing their money and those who are constantly struggling is how they manage their income and expenses. It's tempting to invest this extra money in a new home, a vacation, or simply increase daily expenses, but doing so could put you right back where you started. Consider the following scenario. Who is actually in a better financial situation if Bill earns $60,000 a year and spends $45,000, while Jeff earns $150,000 and spends $175,000? Even though Bill earns less, earnings are not the main key to accumulating wealth. It all depends on how you manage your money. Unfortunately, lifestyle inflation is a normal element of earning more and advancing in the corporate ladder for most people, but it's acceptable only if you stay within your budget. It becomes problematic as soon as you start going into debt to afford a specific lifestyle. Maintain your essential financial freedom by spending only what you can afford. 7. Dependence. You can't afford. This is a bit complicated, we know, especially if family is involved, but give me a minute to explain it to you. So now you have an income stream, which is great, but don't get too comfortable because you haven't reached your goal yet. You've just started your journey to financial freedom, which will take years, if not decades. Don't fall into the trap of becoming the go-to person for all your needy family and friends. Before inviting others to share your home, you must first build it. Before focusing on alleviating others' problems, save and invest to protect your future. Instead of spending your active income, which can be interrupted at any time by someone else's actions, use the earnings from your assets to help others. Many dependents can make a living, but they are unable to do so because someone else allows them to be inactive, depriving them of the opportunity to express their creativity. Instead of helping your dependents, empower them. Encourage them to find ways to help themselves rather than relying on others. Instead of simply giving money to your dependents, you could participate with them in initiatives that you finance. 8. A house you can't afford. Those who are smart with money know that the best property is the one they can afford, and they don't want to spend more than they can afford on a property. Let me paint you a picture of a hypothetical individual. By spending frugally and taking advantage of credit card benefits, they were able to pay off their house by the age of 40 and were able to travel for several months a year. When it came to buying a house, they and their partner bought a much smaller house than they could have afforded to seek early retirement and a mortgage-free life. They would have much less money to save and invest each month for early retirement if they had bought a larger residence. They would also have to significantly cut their annual travel expenses. It's a win-win situation. Home affordability calculators might tell you that you could spend twice as much on a house as you think, but ignore them and chart your own course. 9. Brand name luxury goods * brands, labels, and tags are less important to those who are good with money. Flashing your wealth is no longer a technique to demonstrate your wealth. Since 2007, the top 1% of the U.S. population has spent less on material goods. Instead of buying brand name products, many wealthy people today prefer to spend their money on isolation, specialized wellness and exercise programs, and investing in education. 10. A bad budget. Spend money as soon as it hits your account. Every single person complains about not having enough money, but none of them have any idea where their money goes. Do you think keeping track of your costs is difficult? Do you know what's even harder? Being poor and unable to buy anything. Wake up and realize how much money you're wasting on subscriptions and unnecessary purchases. That money could be used to pay off debts or fill other financial gaps. Poor individuals are skilled at surviving with little or no money, so when they get paid, they spend it quickly to return to their default, fearing that life will take it away from them. Every guide will tell you that budgeting and planning are the best ways to proceed. How can you expect things to improve in your life? It's a good idea to keep track of how much money you earn and how much you spend. It's the first step to realizing how vulnerable your situation is. 11. A gambling and lottery addiction. No one can save you. No lamp has ever produced a genius, and Jesus won't come down to pay the rent. Life is a gamble. The more you understand this, the faster you'll be able to escape poverty. Every day, all rich people do is focus their energies on increasing their chances of making more money. Poor individuals entrust this chance, and therefore their destiny, to the universe. When you stop creating your future, you end up with whatever is left or whatever scraps people are willing to throw at you. It's about having control in life. Get the most out of it. Discipline yourself and what surrounds you until you're able to predict the future. You won't need luck after you gain control. Rich people don't believe in luck and don't need it. Poor people have bad luck. You don't need luck if you work hard. I'll leave you with these enlightening words. It's your habit of thinking of yourself as poor, as someone who will never be rich, as someone who is not smart enough, good enough, or educated enough that keeps you impoverished. People less fortunate than you have retired from poverty, and yet you complain that things aren't getting any easier for you. Sure, life is hard. Maybe it was much harder for you than for everyone else. But what are your plans? Do you want to drown in the pain of all this, or do you want to get up and start walking? You'll get where you want to go if you keep moving, learning, and improvising along the way. We are interested in discovering your personal experience on the topic. Write it in the comments and feel free to ask any questions. We will be happy to interact. Feel free to leave a comment so that we can improve the content. Your like would be the cherry on top, and click subscribe to stay informed about upcoming publications.